Welcome back. Minister of Home Affairs Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has just tabled his department's budget of more than 10 billion rand for consideration by Parliament. The minister says his department plans to undertake a multi-billion rand redevelopment project at 6 of the country's ports of entry as part of the one-stop border post initiative, which will facilitate trade and travel. Over the next 3 years, the department is also setting aside 2.4 billion rand for the digitization of official records of birth, death and marriage. The project aims to employ 10,000 unemployed IT graduates. So far, 2,000 of them have already been trained and are working in the department. Now, joining us to talk more about the budget that was tabled indeed in Parliament today, we are joined by the Minister via our Zoom link. Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, thank you so much, Minister, for joining us here on the late edition. One would ask that when you look at the budget you have just tabled, it seems to focus a lot on when it comes to the redevelopment of the country's ports of entry.
Good evening, Bali. Good evening to the listeners and viewers. Yes, indeed, it has long been outstanding. We were very excited that on the 6th of this month, we received a letter from the Minister of Finance, keeping his promise about this issue. He has given us a go-ahead to go out in what is called request for proposals, to go into the market and the private sector and ask them to give us proposals on how they will redevelop our ports of entry. This is a huge multi-billion rand development, which is going to be completely different from what you see at these ports of entry now.
And if maybe you can just give us a bit of insight, what will this redevelopment of these ports of entry look like?
Well, as I said, it's a massive infrastructure injection. If you go to our ports of entry now, they look very tiny. This is going to be the expansion of the gate of entry, where there will be a special lane just for trucks, another lane just for taxis. There will be a lane for private cars, and there will be a lane for pedestrians. I'm sure, Mbali, you have noticed, especially during busy seasons like December and Good Friday, how the trucks form congestion at our border post and fight for space with pedestrians and all that. All those days will be over. More so, the one-stop border post after this redevelopment means when you go through the border, you are no longer going to be processed twice as it is happening. I mean, now if you happen to go to Zimbabwe, you go through Page Bridge, the South African side process you. You may spend 3 hours in the queue there. When you finish, you cross no man's land, you get on the side of Zimbabwe, they also process you. In the one-stop border post after this development, you get only processed once and you go through.
And I'm sure South Africans are asking when it comes to safety, especially looking at the kind of problems that South Africa has with porous borders, that also comes into play. So what will it mean now if you're only getting processed once when you're passing through these borders?
There are several models of this one-stop border post. One of the models is that is called a juxtaposed model, which is the one that is preferred by South Africa and all our neighboring countries. It means you put up a building here. When you go into Zimbabwe, for instance, the South African side processes you in their building, and you go past. Excuse me, I'm making a mistake. The South African side does not trouble you because you are going into Zimbabwe. You just pass. When you arrive on the Zimbabwean side because you are entering their country, it's then that they start processing you. But when you come back, the Zimbabwean side doesn't trouble you. You just go past. When you arrive on the South African side, it's then that they process you. Now, when all these things are happening, you have got people from both countries in the same building, making sure that things are going right.
All right, Minister, moving to, the digitization of the Home Affairs Department. I see that you've also then tabled in Parliament 2.4 billion rand for this digitization. And it seems as if a lot of young people will be benefiting from this project you want to undertake as the department.
Absolutely, Mbali. We are going to get 10,000 of them, and they'll be hired for the next 3 years. All of them have done university diplomas or degrees and TVET degrees in information technology, as well as document management. 2,000 of them have already been engaged. We are in the process of interviewing about 6,000 in order to appoint 4,000 of them. And the advert for the last group of 4,000 is going out in 2 weeks' time.
And when it comes to government's printing works, I see that you've signed an MOU with Namibia, and this is to process a number of their documents. When it comes to dealing with the current challenges you have, how sure are you as a department that you will be able to deliver, even though in South Africa, the printing works seems to be a problem?
Look, the printing works, but it's only one problem. Up to now, it is one of the very few, if not the only one, state-owned entity that is not getting money from the treasury. It makes its own money, and what is more, makes a huge profit which is sent back to treasury. When I arrived in Home Affairs in 2019, the government printing works had made a profit of more than 500 million rand, 500 million, but they were disturbed by COVID because a lot of activities were not going on during COVID. We were not printing certain documents, and so their income came down. Now that COVID is over, they are picking up again, but even during COVID, they were still self-sustainable. And I'm repeating, Bali, they don't get a cent from treasury. They are the ones who send money to treasury after doing their work. Their only problem was when systems collapsed 2 years ago, and we believe something was done deliberately. Some form of, even though we didn't find who committed what, but we found out who omitted what. And it's very difficult to know the difference between sabotage via commission or via omission, but it was not something that was done, that just happened accidentally as far as we are concerned. That is the only problem they are having, and we are dealing with that problem. But about profitability, they are very profitable. That is why, as I'm speaking, Bali, they are expanding their factory space on a project which will cost 1.1 billion rand. That 1.1 billion rand is not from Treasury, it's from government building works itself. The money was given to the Development Bank of Southern Africa for them to start developing and building more factories, because they've bought extra machinery, which they can't use because of lack of factory space. So this is an institution that is growing very fast. And that's why Namibia, because the minister came there, for your information, the Minister of Home Affairs in Namibia visited, and his remark was he never thought in his wildest dream that on the African continent there's a facility like that. That's why he did not hesitate to decide that all the birth certificates in Namibia will be printed by government printing works in South Africa. Very recently, University of Eswatini and all their vocational colleges have asked government printing work to print their vocational documents. We have already signed a memorandum of understanding with what is left is to. They also want us to print something for them, which we'll announce immediately after they finalize everything. But we have already signed memorandum of understanding with them to this effect.
All right, Minister. Coming to other issues in this country, something that your department played a very crucial role in, the Thabo Bester case. Of course, just yesterday in court, the issue of Thabo Bester's identity was brought to light, and we've since seen from you, you are saying that a DNA test has since been conducted to actually confirm that whether indeed we are dealing here with the correct Thabo Bester. Minister, if you can just take us through, when was this DNA test done, and are you sure that this indeed is the Thabo Bester that the country has been looking for?
But we have never doubted in Home Affairs. When I had the press conference on the 14th of April, announcing to the public about the identity of Thabo Bester, we never doubted at all. It is the public that was doubting, those who were doubting Thomas's. We didn't doubt because we spoke to Thabo's mother. Thabo's mother told us that she gave birth at Krisani Baragwanath Hospital on the 13th of June, 1986. We went there into their archives and we found the records there about him and the time at which he was born. The mother also told us the school he attended. We went to that school. Indeed, they produced records that he arrived at that school on the 14th of January, 1997. And when we give people what is called late registration of birth, these are the documents we are looking for. It's called an LRB in Home Affairs. LRB means when you take an ID for the first time, when you are already old. We go to schools, we go to creches, we go to churches and look for all the information. When we finish, we give the information to a special Home Affairs tribunal. They look at the documents and decide whether to give you an ID. We have already gone through that process. And so we're not doubting. The issue of the DNA, which people were calling for, was done by police on the very same week he arrived in South Africa from Tanzania. And that DNA matched with the DNA of the mother. So it's something that was done many, many weeks back, immediately when he arrived from Tanzania. It's not something that is new. I just announced it today because there was a member of parliament who is still insisting that this might not be the best step because we never did the DNA. So because he was a doubt Thomas, I have to tell them that there is nothing like that. We never doubted that this is a Thabo Bester, and we are 100% sure that is him. And the DNA has proven it. It's matching with the woman who told us he gave birth to him in Para, where we went and found the records. Now DNA has confirmed that. What more do people want?
And staying with the Thabo Bester saga, Minister, of course, the Dr. Pashi, where we understand now that both of her passports, according to you, were found on Dr. Nandipha Makutumana. She has threatened legal action, saying that you have made defamatory statements against her in that press briefing, and she had given you until yesterday to respond to her. Have you responded to Dr. Pashi?
Well, I'd rather not respond. I'd rather wait for her to take the action. I'm not responding.
Do you plan on responding, Minister?
Look, as I'm saying, if somebody says I'm saving with papers, you'll better respond. I'm going to do this and that. I prefer that we leave that process to the courts, and it will unveil itself.
Your deadline was yesterday, so clearly you have not responded yet. So you're not planning on responding.
I never said so, Mbali. I'm just saying I prefer not to talk about it. Let the process unveil itself. I'm not telling you what.
All right. We seem to have...
whether I will respond or whether I've responded. I'm just called, please, let's allow that process to unveil and go on its own.
And Minister, there was another issue that was brought to light when just recently with the UAE president arriving in South Africa, and you have been criticized for preferential treatment for the president of the UAE. You know, when it comes to that matter, was all above board when the president of the UAE landed in South Africa?
Yes, I would like to believe so. There was no preferential treatment. Mbali, we have mentioned it many times. Even in the first press conference that was conducted by Minister Nchaveni, she mentioned that the UAE wrote a note verbal that the president of UAE is visiting South Africa on a private visit. And then we said, clearly, because people were saying, but this is private, why do you save them? Presidents of countries, heads of states, have certain benefits and courtesies which they enjoy in every country. This is a global phenomenon, which they enjoy in every country around the world, which me and Yumbali may not enjoy. And we accorded to him that status as a head of state. And there was nothing that was done secret.
All right, then. Thank you very much. That is the Minister there of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, just giving us a bit of insight there when it comes to that 10 billion rand budget that he has tabled today in Parliament, but also touching on a number of other issues that has been in the spotlight for quite some time.